All right, everybody, welcome back to Inside the 90. Jami, what do we have in store today?
So we've talked about multiple topics. The topic that we've kind of skipped over is what is EOS? And I think that there's that foundational level of what is EOS, but then there's also the conversations that I get asked a lot, which is, hey, my company should run on this. Like, how do I let my boss, how do I let our CEO know about this? So I think what we'd like to do is talk about what is EOS to someone who, may have interest, or this podcast has been forwarded to them to get them excited. So with that, I just open it up to you, Andrew. Like, what is EOS?
I love it. I think this is a great topic, especially for somebody listening, to forward it on, bring people into this ecosystem of what EOS is and how it can help. But let's break it down. So like at the purest level, right? EOS is an operating system for the business. We think of an operating system as like on your computer or on your phone that helps the computer or the system understand when certain applications should be running, when certain ones shouldn't. So an operating system for the business kind of orchestrates the human energy inside the business, right? But the way it does that is through a tool set. And it's a simple set of tools that really help us achieve three things, which is vision, traction, and healthy. So vision from a standpoint of how do we get everybody in the company on the same page, where we're going, how to get there, and how we're going to get there. Traction from a standpoint of, okay, now that we have this vision, what are the disciplines, the actions, the activities? When we look around, everybody's rowing in the same direction after our vision. And healthy is how do we become more open, honest, cohesive as a team? Because oftentimes we're not. And if we can get the leadership team fully on those three things, as goes the leadership team, so goes everybody else in the organization. Do we get to that point where now everybody's rowing in the same direction, we know where we're heading long term, and we point all those arrows of human energy in one direction. And so that's like the outcome of what it is. Now, practically, how does that show up? The operating system gives us, I always like to describe it as like any type of sporting event where there is a set field, right? The perimeter of the field always stays the same. The rules of the game always stay the same. But then as a team playing that game, we now get to determine the plays we call, the players that are on the field. And so EOS provides a little bit of that structure for us of what is the size of the field and the rules of the game.
Yeah, and I think, too, when you think about community, right, what is a community? I think what EOS does is it casts a vision, which says, all right, now we all have a common goal, doing something for the common good. Yeah. And it gives us a language. And, every community, every tribe, right, has a shared interest in a common good and a language that allows them to communicate that. And the best analogy I had was having lunch with a friend who's president of an organization who ultimately ended up being your client. And he brought up like this EOS thing. He was like, you guys are like, you're like CrossFit. He's like, I feel like I got to show up at the gym for my free workout, at least to figure out what it is. And that analogy to me was actually a really good comparison that, CrossFit is for a framework for a type of exercise, right? Or Agile is a methodology for how to run projects.
Lean, right?
Yeah, all those are methodologies, and EOS is a framework that runs your business. It's not software, right? No. It's a framework, and it, as you eloquently defined, it's the field and the rules to the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny you talk about it's like CrossFit because there's like a little bit of a cult following with it. But I think we've talked about this before. You can't spell culture without cult. Yeah. And ultimately inside of our business, that's truly what we're trying to do is create a common language. I talk to teams all the time where it's like, okay, what is it? A lead, a prospect, an opportunity? Those words matter. And so what EOS delivers is a commonality in language and words and the way we do things and how we operate.
And so I think for this conversation specifically too is you think that this is for CEOs, this is for leaders. We get this term visionary and integrator. When in reality, what I think it does, you cast vision from the top down, but you run your business from the bottom up. Yeah. So if an employee of an organization is sitting there thinking like, I need to send this to my boss, and now the boss just received this.
Yeah.
they're 3.5 minutes into this podcast.
Exactly.
What
right.
do you want the boss to do?
Yeah. It's interesting. I think there's a few things that we can open up here. One is that just the understanding that the A players in an organization, they usually will leave us if we don't create a culture of high accountability. A culture of high accountability is really healthy to breed A players, right? Because people will leave if their peers aren't being held accountable. That's a big issue.
Yeah. The easiest way to lose an A player is not getting rid of a C player, right?
Exactly right. And so our best team members are asking for this type of structure and this type of accountability. And we have to provide it, and we need to get out of their way, right? And be able to kind of create that cadence and create some of that structure for it. So much of what I think people look at EOS and they say, okay, this is great. It's going to help our organization get on the same page from a leadership perspective, create a leadership team, create structure, create how to create common goals. But the real value is when the whole system is in our DNA on how we operate. And so the levels below the leadership team have this like just clarity on what my roles are, where do I fit on the accountability chart? What's my day-to-day? What does winning look like? And that's what it provides value to the leadership team, to the owner, to the entrepreneur, because now it's not reactive management. It's not feeling like nothing gets done unless somebody on the leadership team takes care of it. So that's what really kind of frees that up for us.
And when we think about companies that run on EOS, like who is the right fit company for EOS?
Yeah, it's companies between 10 and 250 employees is like the sweet spot. So
why is that?
It doesn't mean that it doesn't work for earlier stage companies, nor does it mean that it doesn't work for larger companies, but that's the sweet spot. And why that is because one, EOS takes the impression that you have the right target market fit. Like you are selling your service into a proven group of individuals, right? So it kind of needs that because we're helping with the internal operations of the business. And then the other thing is because it's a system to manage human energy, we have to have human energy in the company. And so it's better, you're going to get more ROI when you have people in the business in order to use the operating system.
Is there, if someone's listening today and they're, whether they're 15, 50, 150, 300 employees, right? Does any of that matter to pick up traction and read it and start thinking about it?
Not at all. I mean, the principles are all the same. So it's really broken into like this, the fact that so many of the issues that we're dealing with are all symptoms of root cause issues. And so EOS is built on the principles that we need to fix the root cause issues that are occurring. And EOS is an answer to issues. That's what it truly is it provides answers to things that come up in issues in the business. And the answers it provides are root cause components. And so the 6 key components, which is vision, people, data, issues, process, and traction, that if we can strengthen all 6 of those components, then those symptom issues, things that feel reactive, kind of constantly chasing fires, feeling like there's a ton of bottlenecks, start to go away.
And then there's, you where you hear about EOS, you may think like, I'm an advertising agency guy, like tons of agencies run on it. So, it's for professional services firms or it's for tech firms, but it's not for manufacturing. It's not for my machine shop, it's not for a car dealership. But those 6 components, like if you have a business, you have those 6 components, right? Yep. So if you look at those 6 components and you're like, I can kind of point to all of them issues being one of those 6 things, then EOS is for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny though, I think all those businesses that you named, I've worked with at least one client within them. Car dealerships, machine shop, manufacturing, professional services, trades companies, right? We're all dealing with very similar root cause issues. People, right? People, that's the number one thing. We got to get our arms around and make sure everybody's the right person in the right seat and moving those things forward. So, yeah.
And then there's one key word, the first word, the E.
Yes.
Entrepreneurial. So where does that word come in and play as far as the target companies that are right for EOS?
So the Entrepreneurial Operating System, that's what you're referring to. And entrepreneurial, think of it as entrepreneurial spirit. So it doesn't have to mean that the entrepreneur is involved, right? It could be second generation. But it's an entrepreneurial spirited company, which means we believe that we're either growing or we're dying. And so it has to have this culture of we are building and we're growing and we are innovating and we want to move forward. That's where that entrepreneurial comes from. All right. I just want to take a second and say thank you so much for being here. Jami and I absolutely love EOS and what it's done for our businesses and our life. So hopefully you're finding value in these conversations. If you are, go ahead and take a minute and subscribe wherever you may be listening. It does a lot for the show. It keeps us going, keeps us motivated, and allows us to keep putting out free content for all of you. And also, if you know anybody that may be beneficial to the conversation today, go ahead and share.
So the book Traction is the textbook that you can read. There's also Get a Grip, which is a fable. Both of them are just great points to start at. But you talked about human energy and things going in the right direction, right? And then you talk about these 6 key components. But I know the language that just hits for people is the idea of hitting a ceiling.
Yeah.
So explain what hitting a ceiling means in EOS.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a study in the 70s by Dr. Thomas Gordon. It talks about how every organization grows in the same way. And it's periods of evolution and revolution. So there's periods of evolution where things are going well, we're growing correctly, and then we hit a ceiling. And we have to change the way we do things internally in order to break through that ceiling and go to another period of evolution. But at any time we hit a ceiling, we can either break through and continue to grow, we can plateau, or we can fail. And those moments, it goes on and talks about 5 leadership abilities that we need to harness in order to do that. And EOS is built on those leadership principles, which are simplify, delegate, our ability to predict, systemize, and structure. But EOS is built upon that. And so if you own the tools and the EOS process, you ultimately work on those. But just to go back to what that kind of feeling of hitting the ceiling is, we hit these ceilings that feel like we lost lack of control. Like things are out of control a little bit, like we're holding on by a thread, and if I let go, too much is going to kind of fall apart. It's feeling of too many bottlenecks. Like if I'm the entrepreneur, say, and I go on vacation, like I can't really trust that things are going to get done in the appropriate way. It's this realization that we could have a room full of the smartest people and we're working overtime, but we're just not getting the ROI or the movement that we would expect. And so those are those common feelings that we have and so what we do is we point to accountability as the issue. Like, well, no one else is accountable, but what's really the issue is clarity. And so we need to instill clarity, and this kind of helps us do some of that and provides clarity for not just us, but everybody. So everybody knows kind of where we're going, how we're going to get there, their part in playing in it, what they're responsible for, and comfortable with accountability in that way. Realm.
And I think something came up in a conversation in the past week with me. I was talking to a friend who he was like, "Oh yeah, I've heard of the EOS thing," and he's like, "I hate the word visionary." He's like, anybody that says they're a visionary, he's like, it makes my skin crawl. And I was like, well, you have to understand the context of that. And, yes. I think in an entrepreneurial organization, originally there was some form of a spark. Someone had an idea, right? And there's cycles of like really heads up, like I'm looking to the future. And then it's like we get busy and we're really heads down trying to get everything done. Yeah. And I think that those 2 key words of visionary, which is like, hey, I'm heads up, I'm focusing on the future, I'm driving, casting vision. It's not that I'm a self-proclaimed visionary, right? It's putting the right word on a function in an organization where they're focused on the future. And then the integrator, which is the one who's integrating all the other functions, right? Mm-hmm. And, if anyone's listening, both of those are high value complementary words, right? Visionary is not greater than integrator or vice versa. In most instances, visionaries exist. That's how companies get started.
Yes.
And it's the integrator, which is that that missing link to really to break through those ceilings. So talk a little bit about the relationship between visionary and integrator.
Yeah, it's a puzzle piece relationship. So, and just to back up a little bit on the labels of visionary and integrator, because I hear that same thing. And those labels, it's a labeling the function, and they're very well labeled for what the roles are. Inside the organization, a visionary, that's the way I look at it. I'm looking internal clarity, right? So to everybody in the organization, it's very clear what a visionary's role is to look towards the future, vision casting, coming up with big ideas. How do we look to grow? Where's the market going? Where an integrator, again, it is clear that they're integrating the major functions of the business, integrating our priorities of rocks, right? They are truly integrating the day-to-day of the business. So the labels externally can have some egoic aspects to it maybe, but internally they're really clear on what they actually are doing. And that relationship between those two, right? You think of some of the greatest visionaries, leaders, if we think of in our daytime, like in our lifetime, like Walt Disney and Steve Jobs, and like all these people had a right-hand person that really started to bring this thing to life.
Yeah, Charlie Munger.
Yep, exactly right. And so that is the integrator. That is the integrator in the organization that ultimately helps bridge the vision of where we need to go to the day-to-day of what that is. And you have this unique ability to be one or the other or neither, right? And so there's an assessment on rocketfueluniversity.com where you can go on and take the assessment, and it gives you where you fit in that puzzle piece. But for every visionary out there, you need to find the right integrator. They may score well on this, but they have to be your integrator.
Yeah, the chemistry has to matter.
The chemistry has to matter in that, because that relationship is like a marriage. And there's going to be natural friction because the visionary is going to want to implement 20 new ideas, and the integrator says only one of them is a good one, and for right now.
Yeah.
For right now. And so it has to be this natural friction that really helps and pulls and pushes the company forward.
And I think two other important parts, just kind of to understand the basics, is the rhythm. So you've got vision, we've got goals, we've got accountability. People understand the role that they play. And then there's this rhythm that becomes the heartbeat. And that's one of the things for me my recently made up word is I'm an agencypreneur. An entrepreneur. I've spent a lot of time in different types of organizations, but I tend to start agencies.
Yeah.
But in that, that you end up kind of without a rhythm, right? You struggle to get traction, pun intended. And for me, one of the things that I found peace in was this idea that I can be a visionary, right? I can have all these ideas, but I only have to commit I've got to cast the vision, right, in the future, have the goals, but I only have to commit to the things we got to get done in the next 90 days. And for me to take that 90-day cadence and live in it, and then every 90 days get to reinvent that a little bit, it scratches that itch of like, just, not chasing squirrels. It's like I get a brand new squirrel every 90 days. 100%, so 100%. Talk about the 90-day world and the cadence and the value of that.
Yeah. So I think there's a couple things here. The value of a cadence is it becomes the heartbeat, which we kind of talked about there. But we have all worked on teams, organizations that feels like we have these like moments where like everybody knows what we're focused on and we're just running after that thing. But then it's like we're halfway through it and somebody comes in and changes it, right?
Yep.
And then you're like, well, now I don't know what. And then they change it and then they come back later and say, no, go back after it. And so it's like this whiplash feeling inside the company. And what that does is it stops people. So if we're that type of a leader, this type of a cadence becomes extremely valuable to your team, and it gets buy-in and all these things. So the EOS cadence or heartbeat is built in 90-day cycles. hence inside the 90, right?
Yep.
So we are now putting this 90-day cadence in the organization where we're setting up rocks and priorities every 90 days. But that's not just from high-level priorities and high-level rocks. That's the entire organization. Everybody lives in this 90-day cadence. So I have a rock, say I'm a sales rep, I have a rock for this next 90 days. And everybody in the organization's rocks are due in the exact same day.
Yeah.
And so like it's like this sprint for 90 days, and they're all aligned with where we need to get as an organization. And we don't change those, right? But as new ideas come up and things happen, we put them on a long-term issues list to then we get back in the room in 90 days, reestablish where we're going again, put the plan together, and go sprint again. And so it creates this consistency in this place that has like this rhythm to it where everything kind of has a place, and it stops us from the whiplash.
Yeah.
The rhythm is one thing that starts to create clarity, right? It starts to bring people around, okay, what the next little thing is. But if we just stay there, it can become like Groundhog's Day, and we're never, like, nothing's ever good enough. So now we layer on this VTO, right? And the VTO is now this definition of where we're going long-term, who we are, where we're going in 3 years, where we're going in 10 years, right? What does the alignment look like around the whole organization?
And what is VTO? Give us definition.
Yeah, VTO is the Vision Traction Organizer. Yeah. It's a simplified approach to a business plan.
Yeah.
It's comprised of 8 questions that we answer every 90 days as an organization, but it lives in the organization between those 2 90-day cycles.
Yep.
And it is core values, core focus, 10-year target, marketing strategy, 3-year picture, 1-year plan, 90-day rocks, and then long-term issues. So that's what it is. And in that, there's a lot answered. It answers who we are at our core. It answers why we exist, what we do in the world, where we're going long-term, who do we talk to, what do we say, what does it look like in 3 short years? Like what is that organization going to be like in 3 years? Helps us kind of create this focus. 1-year plan, like the most important things this year are XYZ. 90 days is like, that's what our sprints are. We put our heads down and go.
Yeah, I think, so hopefully if you're listening and you maybe had some awareness of EOS, or you knew nothing about it and someone forwarded you this I would say the most flattering thing that can happen to you is an employee brings you the book Traction.
Yes.
Or brings you EOS because they give a damn. They really give a damn. They see the promise. They're excited, but then they feel some of this frustration internally that you may be disconnected from as a leader. And so I would just encourage anyone whose employee says, "Hey, I think we should do this." Don't take offense, right? That's not an insult to things aren't going well. EOS is meant for good companies that want to be great.
Yes.
And so if an employee does bring you a book or talk about it, I would just say, just listen, ask them why, what they've heard. And usually once you hear EOS the first time, like you're going to hear it 7 times in the next week or 2, once it pops up in the business community. But that would be my thing. If any visionary, leader out there gets this, that, an employee who brings this to you is special.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They're asking for that type of accountability inside the organization. They're asking for structure. They're asking for clarity. And so I 100% agree. And there's another piece to this to understand is that I think sometimes people think of EOS, I'm going to bring EOS in, and, is it built for my type of organization, or my organization is unique, right? You always hear my organization is unique. And there are uniquenesses to your organization, 1,000%. But there's certain principles in every business that are always there. And so getting our arms around some of those things and just know that like EOS is there as a so you don't have to do the thinking. Like just use the tools so you don't have to find the like, how do I run an effective meeting?
Yeah.
Like, what does that look like? How do I have my team now? How do I run an effective meeting? You don't have to think about it. Just follow the proven thing that hundreds of thousands of businesses are using and have proven out, right? How do I set priorities? Well, just there it is.
Yeah.
How do I look at numbers? How do I
do employee reviews?
How do I do employee reviews? How do I hold team accountable? How do I set proper expectations?
Yeah.
Right? All of that is built into this system. And so.
Yeah. And then I think we have 2 books here. So we've got Rocket Fuel, Traction, and then the third one's Get a Grip.
Mm-hmm.
All 3 of them serve a different purpose. Yeah. And, if you're so Rocket Fuel is about the visionary integrator relationship, right? That's the one talks about what that dynamic is.
And it's written, the way Rocket Fuel is written is for if you're an integrator or if you're a visionary, being able to just understand the relationship.
Yep.
But also if you're a visionary, how do you find your right integrator?
Correct.
As well. Because usually a visionary is the entrepreneur in the organization. So that's the first one. The second is Traction, which I always say is written more like a textbook. So it's one of those things that if you're going to listen to it, have a hard copy with you, ready to earmark and highlight the pages because you kind of need to be in it.
Yeah.
And then Good a Grip is written as a business fable. So it's a great listen where you can kind of just hear a story of an organization implementing EOS and that experience they go through.
And then should someone read one of those books and then they're like, I'm in, let's do this. Like, what's the process look like?
Yeah. Reach out to, there's a couple options. One is you can self-implement and all the tools are there. So in Traction in the back, it actually talks you through how to effectively implement EOS and what that looks like. There's softwares out there that are great, 90.io, EOS One, Strutty.com, that you can utilize to kind of help like bring the tools to life a little bit. But you can self-implement. That's option number one, is just go through that. Another option, which I recommend, even if you do self-implement, is reach out to your local EOS implementer. And we're happy to give you some free time to walk you through kind of what the options are, what does the process look like, and sit down with your team and open that up a little bit.
And to formally do EOS, right? If someone's going to commit to it, what's the timeline? What's the cadence? What does that look like?
Yeah. So an implementer will guide you through the implementation of the tools with the leadership team. And so there's a series of days. We do it in day sessions where it starts with 3-day sessions spread out between 60 and 90 days. It kind of sets the foundation of the tools, gets the leadership team operating at a high level, and then we start cascading down into the rest of the organization on a 90-day basis, on a 90-day cadence on what that looks like.
Awesome. So if you're interested, you can go to eosworldwide.com. You can find implementers there.
Yep.
I encourage anyone to connect with an implementer. The first step in the EOS proving process is called the 90-minute meeting. So let's just hop it on, meet with the leadership team. Y'all do your thing. And
open the curtain and we'll show you all that it has to offer. And then it's the best way to get everybody all the information they need to make a decision if it's right or not.
And you charge how much for that?
90-minute meeting is absolutely free. So any implementer is going to do a 90-minute meeting for free, which sits down with you and your leadership team, opens the curtain on EOS, kind of just lays it out on the table so everybody has the information they need to make a good decision on it. When you really think about it, like, okay, you've listened to all this about EOS and kind of our perspectives on it. I think one thing that's really important for everybody to understand is that, like, our background and our experience, right? Today, I'm an EOS implementer. Today, you're a marketing agency supporting businesses running on EOS. But the way we got here was through our own experiences of businesses that were hitting some type of ceiling, brought in EOS, and just the clarity that it provided.
Absolutely,
for us,
yeah.
Right. And so there's like just aligning on understanding that piece of it. I think it's important to know. The other piece of this now is like, okay, why would you care? And what I would say is that you should care if you feel like you're at a ceiling. If you're in an organization that you feel like you're at a ceiling, you're losing people, you feel like there's too many bottlenecks. How do I get control of this thing? How do I add value? You 100% should read the book. Like, that's where I would start, is one of the 3 books that we mentioned, Rocket Fuel, Traction, or Get a Grip.
Yeah, and then I think with that too, for me, on my journey, is you can get a sense of this is bureaucracy. And for me, what I found is this actually was the answer to no bureaucracy, right? If you are at a point where you have the momentum, you have a vision, and you're really trying to break through that ceiling and get to a sense of scale, that it's not bureaucracy, right? It's a process and a framework that aligns human energy and allows you to break through ceilings and scale.
Yes.
And I think that's what every entrepreneur is looking for.
Yeah, and if you need to be careful, because whatever you are looking for when you implement EOS, it'll probably happen. And what I mean by that is, say you want a cohesive team and you want more healthy on the team. Well, this process is going to force you to look at individuals on the team that are stopping that and forcing you to make changes.
Yeah.
It's going to put things in light that are causing the ceiling to be hit, and you need to be ready to handle those issues and solve them and make them away forever.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I would say with that energy too, is it surfaces the issues. That's one of the core items is the issue and the issue solving track. And it removes the drama, lets everyone, once you have the right people in the right seats on the right bus, right, then it lets you solve problems objectively.
Yes.
Without worrying about hurting people's feelings or, how is this going to affect them, because everybody understands the direction that we're going.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, awesome. Well, so with that, if you want to find Andrew, it's eosworldwide.com /Andrew Geisel. GISSAL.
GISSAL.
Or if you want to find any implementer out there in your area, you can do that EOS Worldwide as well.
Yeah, there's an implementer directory on the top that you can go to. And it pulls up by geographic area or by designation of implementer.
Awesome. Well, hopefully this has been of value to all of you. And please listen to this and share it with someone who may need it. Thank you.